Cosmonaut Quickie!
Solo: A Starman story came out, and it was bad. It was shit. It was ass garbage. It was the worst movie since Attack of the Clone Wars. At least that's what you may have heard if your only source of movie news is this horrible website. Movies are now being marketed using this site's ratings before those movies are even out. Why do we even use this website as a reliable source of information? Because it's all we got. If you ask me, there are a lot of factors that contribute to the fact that this movie just is not doing so great. Audiences had basically assumed that the movie would suck before it even came out. The movie was plagued with a bunch of production issues, which I'm not going to get into that much. The release and success of Infinity War and Deadpool kind of killed any interest in non-superhero blockbusters. Not to mention, we just got a Star Wars movie in December. People are kind of worn out. You can't do Star Wars too often. Now, while I am a big Star Wars fan, I admit I didn't really have any expectations for this movie. I was not really anticipating it. But hey, I was wrong, because this movie is really fun. This is actually a Star Wars movie that everybody can enjoy. This isn't. People watch Star Wars to have fun, and while I like The Last Jedi, I admit it isn't the fun Star Wars adventure that people really want. I've heard a lot of Last Jedi haters say that they actually like this movie, and I get why. This is a genuinely fun space western. You know how every Star Wars movie has at least 2 plot lines that we have to follow? Even A New Hope has more than one storyline happening. This can be done really well or really badly. However, in Solo, that isn't the case. This is the only Star Wars movie where one plot line is happening and that's what you're following through the whole movie. This helps the movie stay focused. We get a feel for these characters because we're with them the whole time. And speaking of the characters, I like them. I like them a lot. This is worth noting because the last Star Wars anthology movie had characters who were really fucking boring. It's worth noting that Alden Ehrenreich is really, really good as Han Solo. He isn't doing a Harrison Ford impression. He isn't even doing a Han Solo impression. He's capturing the essence of the character in a way that I really didn't expect. I was one of the people who vocally complained about him back when we saw the first few trailers, but from his first spoken line in this movie, I immediately thought to myself, shit, that's Han Solo. Donald Glover, on the other hand, while not doing a bad job, is doing more of a full-on impression of Lando Calrissian. I like his take on the character, but at some parts you can tell he's kind of pushing himself to deliver his lines in the same over-the-top manner that Billy Dee can usually pull off with no effort. Not to mention, Billy Dee has a really deep voice, and Donald Glover doesn't. Not a lot of people are talking about Woody Harrelson in this movie, probably because he doesn't steal the show like he does in other movies. And this isn't really a bad thing. I think his performance is really solid, and I like the character of Beckett. A character that even less people are talking about is Paul Bettany as the main villain. For once, we have a villain who isn't just this cackling, maniacal asshole. I kept thinking about the bad guy from Rogue One. The acting was really good, but the character was really flat. But Dryden Voss is really fun to watch on screen. I like how he's a psychotic monster who's also a really chill dude. I think honestly I liked most of the characters in this movie. Not all of them though. The most controversial character in this movie is Lando's droid L3. She's kind of a social justice robot. I feel like the original Lord and Miller cut of this movie probably did this character way better than the Ron Howard version. She doesn't really come across as the quirky, tongue-in-cheek commentary that she's probably intended to be. The thing is, this film moves pretty quickly, and the characters get shuffled around a lot. That means that if you don't like someone, they're not going to be around that long, so you don't have to worry about it. The only characters that you actually follow for most of the movie are Han and Chewie. And by God, I am so glad that Chewbacca is an actual character for once. I feel like nobody knows how to write Chewbacca. In most movies or even comic books, he's just there to hang out. He almost never does anything in any Star Wars movie. In this movie, Chewbacca has full scenes where he just talks to people. That is such a novel concept. When's the last time you watched Chewbacca have a conversation with somebody? I think most people see Chewbacca as like Han Solo's pet, but he's a person. He has his own opinions and beliefs. He has actual motivations in this movie. This movie's pretty fast-paced. You get the fun action set pieces, the weird giant monsters, chase scenes. You get everything. There's also stuff that I didn't expect to like as much as I did, like the gambling scenes, for instance. They're really well edited for some reason, and I found them to be the most fun scenes in the whole movie. The train scene feels like something out of Firefly. The mining facility shootout lets us see all the characters acting together. You know how when Obi-Wan's talking about his past with Darth Vader, and you can't really enjoy that scene without thinking about this? Now whenever Han mentions the Kessel Run, you're not going to think about a stupid, pointless scene. You're going to think about something that was actually pretty cool to watch. Another thing people aren't really talking about is how good the soundtrack is. I mean, listen to this. However, this movie does have some annoying, stupid shit that a lot of people are gonna find issues with. Now, for the most part, the fan service is not as annoying as it was in Rogue One, but there are a few times when it can actually really bug you. It kind of depends on the person, though. I found that most people really don't like the scene in the beginning that has to do with Han Solo's last name. You'll know the one I'm talking about. In my opinion, this is one of the very few distractingly stupid moments in the movie. I found most of the other fan service to be pretty classy, if we're being honest. My favorite one is when they call attention to the fact that Lando says Han's name in a weird way.
Can I ask you a question, Captain Calrissian?
Anything, Han? It's Han, but that's okay.
If we're talking about fan service, I prefer it when it's like this. I like it when it's a deep cut and not something super obvious. Also, the other really shitty thing about this movie is that the lighting and color grading are terrible. I think a lot of people probably won't notice this, but as someone who likes well-shot movies, this really stood out to me. Sometimes you seriously just can't see what's happening. However, while it was really annoying, it didn't ruin my enjoyment of the movie, and like I said, most people probably don't give a shit anyway. Overall, while watching this movie, I found myself having way more fun than I expected. I get why it's not doing so well in the theaters, but I think it deserves more of a chance. I've seen the movie 3 times, and I liked it every single time. Whenever somebody asks me if I want to watch Rogue One or The Last Jedi again, I really gotta think about it. I gotta be in the right mood to watch those movies. But that's not the case here. This movie is really, really fun to watch. The characters are great, and it feels like reading a really good Star Wars spin-off book or comic. Don't take it too seriously, just have fun and enjoy the ride. 8 out of 10, stop being mean.